For the work that you have on the day that I have a sub, I'm going to be gone to go to my brother's wedding. It's going to be on multiplying fractions. Lesson is 3.8 skills practice. It's called multiplying fractions. And you'll need to do from questions 1 through 6, you'll need to pick 3, questions 7 to 14, pick 3, and questions 15 to 20, pick 3, and 21 to 28, pick 3. So each section, you're going to be picking 3. One thing that I would add, you do not have to draw if you do not want to. So questions 1 through 6, there's a setting where you can draw. I'll show an example where you can draw, but you personally do not have to do the drawing there as you solve. So let's go ahead and get started. Look at these questions. This is questions 1 through 6. We have the problem set, and it has question 1, 3/4 times 1/3. And it gives us example here where we have 3/4 times 1/3. And you can see in this example that they have shaded in here 1/3. They cut it into thirds, 1, 2, 3, and they shaded in 1/3. And then going the other direction, they cut it into fourths, 1, 2, 3, 4. And they wrote it here, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. And then they shaded in 1, 2, 3/4. And you can see this super highlighted area, that's going to be the section that's 3/4. So my answer should end up being 1, 2, 3 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So my answer is 3/12, which is the same as 1/4. Go ahead and look at question number 2. Think about it. And now let's solve. So we have 1/2 times 3/5. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. I'm going to put my halves up here. So if I cut this down like so, I'm going to have 1/2. And then this is also 1 whole. And then I can cut this into fifths. 1, 2, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. That was really bad. So I have 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. And so this is 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and then 1 whole. So if I shade half, I'm going to shade, let me go ahead and shade using a highlighter. I'll show you how to do it using a pencil. So if I shade half, I'm going to shade half. I've just shaded that. Then I'm shading 3/5. I'm going to shade the other direction 3/5. And I see this section here that's crisscrossed. That's my section. So I have this guy 1, 2, 3 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The other way you could have done this is you could have just gone 1/2 times 3/5. And we can just multiply across. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 5 is 10. I end up with 3/10. Next problem, we had 1/6 times 2/3. So remember, we can set this up. We're going to divide it into 6. So I'm going to divide the 1/2 into 6. I like to do it in half first, and then I have 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. And it says that I'm shading in 1/6. So I'm going to shade in 1/6. Then it says divided into thirds. So this is 2/3 going in the other direction. I'm going to shade the other direction. So now let's count. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 is my denominator. And then I shaded in these two that were crisscrossed. There's 2 of them. So that's 2 out of 18. And that simplifies if I divide by 2 and divide by 2. That simplifies, I'm going the wrong direction, but to 1/9. We can do the same thing up here. We have 1/6 times 2/3. And so we would have 1 times 2, 1/6 times 2/3. 1 times 2 is 2. 6 times 3 is 18. And I get the same solution. Last one that I'm going to do, we have 1/3 times 4/5. So first I'm going to cut it into thirds. We have thirds. Then I'm going to cut it into fifths. I'm not very good at cutting into fifths. Okay, we have fifths. So in all, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So my denominator is going to be 15. Then I'm going to shade 1/3. Well, 1/3 is going across like this. Then I'm going to shade 4/5. And what's crisscrossed? These guys right here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So 4/15. We can multiply as well. 1/3 times 4/5. 1 times 4 gives me 4. 3 times 5 gives me 15. Same solution for both ways of doing it. Let's move on to the next section. Here, all we're doing is just multiplying across. If you'd like to use the model to do it, you may, but you do not have to. I'm going to do 3 problems showing a method that's just multiplying across and then simplifying. And then I'll do 3 more problems where I'm showing you how to simplify beforehand, and then you don't have to simplify it. So let's go ahead and look at this one. So we have 2/9 times 1/4. Well, this is easy. We multiply straight across. 2 times 1 is 2, and then 9 times 4. Now, if you're uncertain what 9 times 4 is because you don't know your multiplication tables, you can go to your multiplication grid or your multiplication tables, and we said 9. So we go 9 times 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's make sure we go up. Okay, that's 9 times 4. Comes across, so that would be 36. So I'm going to go back here, and I could put 36. Now I can simplify this by dividing by 2. Divided by 2. And that's going to be 2 divided by 2 is 1. 36 divided by 2 is 18. So my answer is 18. Next one. 2 times 10 is 20. And if you don't know what 5 times 13 is, we can count by 5s. We do know that 5 times 12 is 60. So one more 5 would be 65. So that's going to be 65. 20 over 65. Well, both of those can divide by 5. Divide by 5. And we're going to end up with 20 divided by 5 is 4. And 65 divided by 5 is 13. So you could have had 20 over 65 or 4/13. On a test, you'll need to simplify. Last one, and then I'll move on to a different way of simplifying. Here we have 5/8 times 1/2. So we multiply across the numerator, and then we multiply across the denominator. 5 times 1 gives me 5. 8 times 2 gives me 16. So my solution is 5/16. This cannot be simplified. I'm going to show you 3 more using a different way of simplifying. Well, that one you can't do it. This one we can. So this one, what I'm going to notice is that could I simplify the numerator and the denominator before I get to the end? So if you'll notice up here, we divided the numerator and we divided by the denominator at the end. Down here, what we're going to do is we're going to divide the numerator and the denominator beforehand. So I'm going to think to myself, is there a number? Will 3 go into 4? And the answer to that is no. 3 is not a factor of 4. But is 3 a factor of 12? Do they have common factors? And yes, they do. 3 can divide by 3, and 12 can divide by 3. So I get 12 divided by 3, and I get 4. And then 3 divided by 3 gives me 1. So now I have a new solution. 1/4 times 1/4 is equal to 1/16. And this is my answer. I can already see your face because I've seen it before. You're skeptical, so let's do it. We have 3/4 times 1/12. 3 times 1 gives me 3. 4 times 12 gives me 48. So now let's see. Look, we can divide by 3. Notice we already divided by 3 up here in the numerator. We can divide by 3 here. And we end up with 3 divided by 3 is 3. And 48 divided by 3 is 16. So we can either simplify at the end, or if you can simplify the numerator and the denominator, this is called cross-canceling. If you can do that beforehand, then go ahead and do it. Let's do another example. This one you can't simplify beforehand, so I'm going to skip that. This one you can. So we have 1/6 times 12 over 13. Well, I should notice automatically that 6 times 2 is 12. So here we can divide by 6, and here we can divide by 6. And so if I do 6 divided by 6 gives me 1, 12 divided by 6 gives me 2. Now I have 1 times 2 is equal to 2, and then 1 times 13 is equal to 13. Let me prove it to you. 1/6 times 12 13ths. 1 times 12 is 12. 6 times 13 is, well, I don't know, 6 times 12 is going to be 72. 6 times 12 is 72. And so if I add one more 6, that's going to be 78. So this will be 78. And if I take this and divide by 6, and then divide by 6 here, well, we know 78 divided by 6 gives me 13. And 12 divided by 6 gives me 2. So again, we can either divide at the beginning. I think it's easier to do that, or we can divide at the end. We get the same solution either way. Let's look at the next problem. In the next problem, we have mixed numbers. With mixed numbers, you can't multiply them necessarily until you convert. So what we're going to do is we're going to convert. So we take 9 times 3. 9 times 3, if you don't know that 9 times 3 is going to be 27, we would do 9 times 3, and that's 27. So 27, and then I add 8. 9 times 3 is 27. 27 plus 8 is 35 ninths times 15 times 2 is going to be 30, and then add 7, so this is 37 15ths. This is a crazy thing to multiply unless you cancel. And I like to cross cancel first. I don't want to multiply 37 times 37, 35 times 37. But I can divide by 5 and divide by 5. Well, 35 divided by 5 is 7, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. This is much easier to do. So here I end up with 9 times 3 is going to be 27. And then 7 times 37 is going to be 49. 7 times 3 is going to be 21 plus 4, really 210 plus 4. It's going to be 25, 259. That's my answer. Next one, let's go ahead and look at it. We have 7 times 9. Oh, I did these wrong. You didn't have to find the total answer. That's why it's a ridiculous number. It says estimate. So what you could have done is been like, oh, well, this is really, really close. 2 and 8/9 is really close to 4. And then 2 and 7/15 is really close to 2.5. So 4 times 2 is going to be 8. And then 4 times a half would be 2. So 8 plus 2 would be 10. So this would be close to 10. And this makes sense. 259 divided by 27. 259 divided by 27 is equal to 9.59. So I was close. Let's look at the next one. We're estimating, remember? So this is 9 6/7, and that's really close to 9. This is 4 1/5, which is really close to 4. So if we estimate, we round it up here, we round it down here. 9 times 4 is 36. Let's check. Well, I don't really want to check that. That's correct. I don't have a calculator to check it. You can check it on the other calculators. This is close. You could round up and say that we're rounding up to 7, or you could say that this is 6.5, and then this would be close to 2. Okay, so 2 times 6. I like to split it up, right? So we have 6 and then 1/2, and I like to do an area model. So the wrong thing. So, and then I have 2. Well, 2 times 6 is 12, and then 2 times 1/2 is 1. So 12 plus 1 is 13. I'll do one more. Again, this is 3 and 11/13, so that's really close to 4. And then 4 and 9/10 is really close to 5. So 4 times 5 is around 20. If you did that, you get close to 20. Let's look at these next problems. Down here, it says to actually calculate the product, write your answer in simplest form. So first we have to convert to a mixed number. to an improper fraction. So we do 8 times 1 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11 out of 8. 4 times 6 is 24. 24 plus 1 is 25 out of 4. So this is sort of annoying because we can't simplify. So 11 times 25. Here's a little trick for 25s. I know that 25s count by 4. Each group of 4 is 100. So 4 would be 100. 8 would be 200. And then 8 and 9 would be 225. 10 would be 250. 11 would be 275. So this is going to be 200. 275 over 8 times 4 is going to be equal to 32. And that's my solution. Next one, 3, 5 2/3 times 4 1/6. Well, here I have 3 times 5 is 15. 15 plus 2 is 17/3. 4 times 6 is 24, 25. 6. This is really frustrating because there's no way to cancel here. But we can still figure it out. Again, using that trick I just told you, if we count by 4, since we're multiplying by 25, it's like counting money. So we'd have 25, 50, 75, 100. So each group of 4 is 100. So if I count by 4, I go 4, that's 100. 8, 200. 12, 300. 16, 400. And then there's 1 left over. So it's 425. 425 out of 3 times 6 is going to be equal to 18. Next one, 2 1/3 times 7 1/4. So we do 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7/3. And then 4 times 7 is 28, plus 1 is 29/4. Again, this is really frustrating because both of these are prime numbers and I can't cancel. So I do 3 times 4 is 12. And then 7 times 29. The way I would do it is I would do 30 times 7. Well, that's easy. You just drop your 0 down, and then 7 times 3 is 21. And then I'm going to subtract a 7. Subtract 7 from here. I did 30 times 7. If I subtract 1 7, that's going to give me 29 times 7. So that would be 203. 212. And I think that's it. I hope that you do an awesome job, and I look forward to seeing you when I get back from my brother's wedding.